Hey, this is Brandon Crawford from the San Francisco Giants, and you're listening to TortureCast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants.
Let's go Giants!
With hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, Ben Lee, and Eric Nathanson. Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball, the San Francisco Giants. This is TortureCast.
Standing on time, not gonna stop. We came to play, ain't slowing down. Falling on, we're here to stay, and we're stomping on whatever's in our way. I'm feeling like a Giant tonight.
It's Monday, May 27th, 2019, and this is episode 167 of the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. I'm your host, Chad King, and joining me, not reluctantly today, but just we're a little bit in a solemn mood this Memorial Day weekend, is Eric Nathanson, back from a nice little mini vacay he had. So I think he's feeling pretty good overall. Everything's said and done, I'd say.
I am, but much like the Giants, I am baked because it's like 100 degrees a day out here, and this team is definitely cooked, and you could say overcooked because they got burnt so bad on this homestand.
Yeah, extra crispy indeed. They finished a 7-game homestand. Well, I shouldn't say homestand since we last recorded. 1-6. They're 21-31 overall. And what really sucks about this, Eric, is just last podcast they had finished a 3-1 stand stretch since we had last recorded, and they were 5 games under 500. And we're like, okay, this team isn't very good, but they were 18-18 or 17-17 since they started the season 3-8. So at least there was a little bit of hope we were clinging to of like, what if they stick around in orbit of 500, right? You know, maybe they can chase that 2,000th victory for Boch. Maybe something crazy could happen and they could actually stay within 5 games of 500 the rest of the year. We didn't really think that was going to happen, but I swear to God, I mean, look at the week right after we say that. Boom. They lose 5 in a row, 6 out of 7. They're now 10 games under 500. They're one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball. And it's not just because of the record this week. Granted, horrible week, but even some of the best teams have 2-5 weeks, 1-6 weeks. It will happen once in a while. It's the way they lost all of these games. And I know you put down some stats here that are just mind-blowing in terms of their run differential.
Oh, well, that homestand, let's start with, it was a 1-6 homestand, and not only did they only win 1 game, think about the miracle, and we'll get through it, but think about the miracle they had to put together to win that 1 game. They were outscored 55-19 overall. It was only 21-11 in the Braves series. There was only 2 blowouts really in that series, but then it was 34-8 in 3 games versus the Diamondbacks. So, which is just ridiculous to think about. 3 games, that means they averaged over 10 runs a game. The Giants now have the 4th worst run differential in baseball at minus 78, behind Baltimore, Detroit, and Miami. And lucky for them, they get to go to Miami and Baltimore this week. So,
I know that I thought that was really, really weird. Is that pretty much there's only 2 or 3 teams worse than them? Yeah, the Orioles, maybe the Tigers, the Marlins, and that's probably about it right now.
yep.
The fact that they were outscored by 36 runs this past week, but they've been outscored by 78 the entire season. They almost hit half of their entire season's run differential just this week. Think about that. At the beginning of this week, they were 42. They were outscored by 42 runs. Boom, 78 in just 1 week. So this is a week that really accelerated a lot of very, very, very bad stats, which we'll get into here throughout the show. But this is just the first of them. It's bad. Baltimore at 108, Detroit at 99, Miami at 92. So San Francisco
Get this.
Not too far behind that.
Baltimore plays Detroit, and the Giants play Miami, and then Baltimore and the Giants play. So all these bad teams are playing each other this week.
Wow, it's kind of like the reverse NLCS and ALCS.
Yep,
This is the world.
It's the battle for the first pick, apparently. This might be it. We might look back in September and be like, you remember that series? No, but...
The toilet series, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's weird. They're like fighting for first place in the toilet bowl, yeah.
Oh, man, this is bad. So, yeah, they're in last place. 13.5 games behind L.A. I mean, just last week it was 9.5, 8.5. We're thinking, man, that's pretty bad. 13.5, 3.5 games still behind the Rockies for 4th place. And they are now, with their winning percentage, on pace for 97 losses. And if this continues, not with a 1-6 clip, we know they're actually going to start winning some games at some point. But if it gets much worse than their current winning percentage, this is a team, if things go really south, that could end up with 100 losses.
Well, they've only done it one time in their history in 1985, and you said 97 losses. That would be their fourth worst season in history if they hit that mark. They've lost 98 games twice, one of them being back in 2017. They lost 100 back in 85, the only time they've ever done that. And then apparently the 1943 Giants under Mel Ott lost 98 games, which is an accomplishment in and of itself because they only played 154 games back then.
That is an accomplishment. All right, so let's we're not going to dwell too much on every game because we don't want to really relive all of these blowouts, but let's rewind all the way back to Monday. We had just recorded when the Giants were going to be playing that evening. They played the Braves, and this was a 4-game series in San Francisco. They lost 4-1, and the Giants only managed 2 hits, both by Crawford, which, hey, let's be honest, he needs the hits right now. But
yeah, it was kind of fun that he was the one that got the only hits that day. It was like, all right, so when he's good, the rest suck, and vice versa.
So Tuesday was that epic 9th inning comeback that you were referring to. They were down 3-1 going into the 9th inning, and they scored 3 runs with 2 outs. But like you put here, the Giants were down to their last strike 8 times. 8 times. I mean, and what really developed and what was very atypical of Giants baseball is that 2 stolen bases in that inning were really key to providing the fuel for that comeback, both by Pilar and then Mac Williamson. What? Huh? Where did that come from?
And they forgot about him too. They didn't even seem to hold him on.
No, it was a very weird, and I think that had something to do with it. I don't know if they got a read off of Pilar and maybe the way the Braves defense was playing or just something that they got, but I mean, this, again, is very atypical for the Giants to send these signals out, especially with a guy like Mac, who's not the slowest guy on the team, but he certainly isn't a barn burner. So it was a calculated risk, I guess you could say. It seems to me it wasn't blind. Now, Pilar, he's a base stealer, so that was fine. Mac was another one that was kind of out of left field, but I think it was a read, like you suggest, that they're like, well, maybe. I don't think they're really paying attention. Let's just do it. And they took a chance, and it paid off. So with 2 outs and a full count, bottom of the 9th, runners on second and third, down 3-2 after Pilar, of course, had singled a guy in, stole second. Then there was another hit, and then Mac stole second. Joe Panic comes up to the plate, fouls off a ridiculous number of pitches, and then this happened.
On the ground into right field, a base hit. Here comes Williamson. This game is over. As the Giants come back with 3 runs here in the 9th inning, and what a great at bat from Joe Panic.
Yeah, so that was fantastic. Thank you, Joe Panic, for giving the Giants the only win of the week. Something to cling on to, something to play for you podcast listeners, but I think that's pretty much the only audio highlight we have for you. Sorry.
It was a fun old school win, though. Pablo chipped in with a base hit because Mac was running for him, and Pilar's was a bleeder, and like you mentioned, the stolen bases. So it felt like old school times at the yard with the Giants because they don't seem to be able to win games any other way than scratching and clawing and just getting there.
So on Wednesday, they turn around and lose 9-2. The problem was they allowed 6 unearned runs. That was the first inning, wasn't it?
Second inning.
Oh, was it the second inning?
Yeah.
Oh, my apologies. I totally messed everything up for this unearned run thing I had later today, later in the podcast. I honestly thought it was in the first inning. But anyway.
I'll double check.
6 runs, they were all unearned. So it was quite horrific for the Giants for that to have happened. Yeah, I mean, Jeff Samardzija ironically pitched 6 innings that game and technically did not give up an earned run. So his ERA actually went down. It's now sitting at, I think, 3.27. Yeah, there was a throwing error that he himself committed, which was kind of funny because a lot of people argue, hey, if the pitcher commits the error, then he should have his ERA charged. No, that's not the way it works, people. It's, that just isn't. You separate
He's
the
a
pitching
fielder.
stats from the fielding. So once... Yeah, what if you, I don't know, accused the shortstop of sleeping with your wife and messed him up psychologically that day. You're not going to get charged for an earned run because you messed up with the shortstop psyche. It's the same thing. You field the ball, you throw it in the stands. That doesn't mean how well or poorly you pitched. So it needs to be.
Did you watch Major League
separated.
or something recently?
Yeah, I know, right? I was thinking about it. I haven't seen it lately, but I was kind of thinking about that. So yeah, ironically, his ERA went down, and I saw a lot of people on social media again. And I tell you, if you guys are part of these Facebook groups, the Kruk and Kipe and San Francisco Giants fan pages and all this stuff like that, we kind of follow them because we want, people to kind of engage with us and we want to get some content and what have you. But I even have to admit, these places are getting very, very toxic. And people are just lighting the pages on fire. And I mean, some are trolls, I get it. But some are not, and some are very uninformed fans. And so there were definitely dozens of fans I saw that were just cursing Shark and, saying his pitching sucks, get him out of there. He allowed 6 runs in the inning. And granted, maybe a couple of them were accounting for his throwing error, but I know most of them weren't. And so they're just looking at the box score. They're just looking at the score.
Well, he struck out Acuna, and Acuna still reached to keep the inning going. So that kind of made it look even worse because that's when he ended up giving up the 3-run jack and then the solo home run to be the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
So they did. There's like this guy. The thing is nobody thinks ahead to what is the move you make to correspond with getting rid of Shark. Who's going to take him? Who's going to take his contract? You can't just cut him and eat that money. Fans just want to move players without concern for what they're making or how they affect the Giants books in general. When, I think we're just stunned that in 2019 people don't inform themselves enough on these things.
Yeah, it's almost they think like it's a video game. It's just get the next guy that you create in the player creation page. Just bring him up. That's not how it works, people. I mean, Shark isn't the best pitcher in the world, but if you look at his stats, he's actually pretty much their best starter right now, ironically. Yeah. So why would you get rid of him? I mean, it's just, come on, guys, Pomerantz, okay, I might be on your side. I'm just saying. But, yeah, we're not going to get rid of Shark right now. So anyway, 9-2. That 6-run inning really put him behind the 8 ball. And all 6-run earned. It was bad. So Thursday, this was a game that did hurt a little bit. Now, granted, they should have lost on Tuesday, so this is almost like an exchange for that win. But they lost 5-4 in 13 innings. Bum was okay. I think he allowed 2 runs through 6. Watson blew the lead, though. That was the big thing. They were leading. And it was tied in the 8th, I believe. Watson blew it, and then they went into extras. The Giants just couldn't muster anything across the plate, and then Riley killed him again, like you said here in the notes. There's just certain players on each team that seem to have the Giants' number, and this guy for this series certainly did.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm starting to type in Austin Riley. I didn't look it up, his game logs, but it felt like he impacted every single game that the Braves won during that series. I know Acuna was in the middle of the action for a lot of it, but Austin Riley seemed to get all the big hits at all the right times. And it was funny that night. I watched that game in a stretched out fashion. I watched it in 3 different places that day, and I was staying away from Twitter because, like you said, I was on a break, but I couldn't help but and point out that that series against the Braves, and this is before the Diamondback series, but that series against the Braves showed how the Giants are just not a competitive team and how good teams are going to stomp them, and that's pretty much what the Braves did during that series. The Braves won all the games that they should have, and the Giants had to work their butts off just to win one game. And it's so frustrating as a fan, and that's why I partly get where certain fans are coming from, but it's so frustrating as a fan to watch the team do that over and over and over again. It's not even competitive at times, and like I said, they hadn't even faced the Diamondbacks yet. Yeah, look at that. Austin Riley hit 3 home runs, drove in 8 runs. And had 6 hits overall against the Giants in that 4-game series.
Yeah,
it just really showed the difference between a top tier team, other than the Dodgers, and a lower tier team. The Giants were totally outclassed by the Braves in that series.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to kick us off for the 3-game series against
Friday night?
The maelstrom of shit that it was.
Oh my God, Friday night. I wrote, I'll tell you, listener, I wrote in the notes poop emoji because that's what it was. I noticed you noted the unearned runs, but that's for later. The Giants lost 18-2. It was the most runs they've ever given up to an opponent in Oracle Park history. They lost 18-2 to the Diamondbacks. Pomerantz started that game, right? Yes, Pomerantz started that game. The Diamondbacks were coming in off of a 5-game losing streak, so it's not like the D-backs have been playing great baseball lately. And they came into San Francisco, and they had almost the Fibonacci sequence, and it would have been taking a lot of effort on the Giants' part. I loved this.
Was
I
so
saw it
fun.
when it was going around. Yeah, I couldn't believe you noticed it right when it was funny. I had opened just to see the score. I'd opened the thing, and I noticed it sitting there on the box score line. That they scored in the first 7 innings in the order of 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4. So they would have had to go 4, 4, 4 to keep the line moving. But it was ugly. It was horrible to watch. And I don't know about you, but I couldn't keep it up. The only thing to watch was to see if Pablo would pitch, and he did not end up pitching that game.
I thought that was going to happen. I know.
Yeah, but Bochy said he didn't pitch him because he had to start at third base on Saturday. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I admit this whole weekend, by the way, folks, this 3-game series. If you're going to miss a 3-game series because you're doing 8 to 10 hours of yard work and going to Lowe's and getting crap for 3 or 4 straight days, and you miss the Giants games, this is how you do it. I picked my series just right, but I did log on. I think it was the 4th inning or so because I had missed the beginning and saw the score.
I can't. What?
And that's pretty much my reaction. I was just like, what? Yeah, that was bad, folks. So
it was like a freight train that just kept going too, and it was funny. I put it on the radio in the car, and I got as far as the 3rd inning, and Kipe's voice was just defeated already. You played that clip where Kipe was excited when Panic hit the walk-off, and by Friday night, his voice was just defeated as all hell, and you could just hear it in his voice how bad it felt to watch this Giants team sometimes.
I think I know off camera when they're off the air, he's probably saying,
Are you kidding me?
That's been how it is to watch Giants baseball this year.
Oh, man. So what are you going to do? I mean, I'm going right into the playoffs tomorrow night as our first playoff game for Little League. We're the number 5 seed out of 6 teams, so we're not very good. We're going to be playing the number 4 seed, who just has like a half-game lead on us or something like that, so we're kind of evenly matched, and I'm telling you, man, this is where you need the mercy rule. You know, if you're up by 10 after 4, they should do that for the major leagues. Just, like, save the pitcher's arms, man. Just let them go home. Let them go home to their wives and, bang one out. I don't know. Just, get over the night. Jesus Christ.
Hey, props to Derek Holland, though, for continuing to wear it at the end there. He pitched 2 scoreless innings in the 8th and the 9th innings. So
he's super mop-up now, I know.
Yeah, he really is. There was a point Saturday they lost 10-4, and it was more the same with Suarez on the mound, unearned runs and things like that. And the Diamondbacks kept scoring inning by inning. There was a point where in the series, the Diamondbacks had scored in 11 of the 14 innings or something like that. The whole freight train and snowball from Friday night just rolled right into Saturday. And like you said, it was the perfect day if you needed to do stuff outside and do other things. You can understand the Giants were tired on Friday from a 13-inning game Thursday, but
they were down 10-1 too. I mean, it's not like it was even close. I mean, they got behind right away again. By the way, more first-inning runs. I don't even want to. I'll go into those stats later, but it doesn't even matter how many games they allow first-inning runs. But it just keeps happening. I mean, I thought at some point it would actually stop, and they would be giving up a ridiculous amount of third-inning runs. Just to change it up. For God's sakes, give up as many runs as you have been, but do it in a different inning, just to make us feel better about it. But there's something going on. There's something in the water that the starters are drinking. I don't know what the hell's going on. But, I mean, it's just I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, neither have I. This was literally, this was the worst weekend. I'm glad I didn't watch every inning of every game. This was I mean, it's hard to even get through this week in review because of how bad this was. I mean, we've known that they were going to be bad this year. This is just epically bad. Bochy, I mean, they were bad news bearsing it out there. It was nothing. Nothing is going right, and you talk about unearned runs. It just happened every single game. So what, Saturday, that was who? Suarez on the mound. He gets optioned. Sam Coonrod gets called up. And then Sunday it was a little better. They were down 6-0, and they managed to make it 6-2. Early runs killed Sean Anderson. He let up 2 in the first and 2 in the second. One of them because he didn't look a runner back. Yeah. He just kind of airmailed it in, and that was an autopilot move. When you're on the baseball field, you're taught to look the runner back, and he just looked and then threw to first. He didn't actually look the runner back. And then the Giants threw the ball all over the field. There you go, 2 earned runs. But Little Yaz was a lot of fun. The Yazmanian Devil.
Yeah, no, that was fun. He did have 3 hits in his first game. I think he went 0 for 3 the next day, but. No, it was fun, but that first bloop single he had to left field, he overran first, and the left fielder nailed him back and picked him off. Back picked him. So it was kind of fun to see his family. Even I don't know if that was his wife or is he married?
Yes, it was. Yeah, that was his
wife. And she's all happy, and you see her going, "Go, get back, get back, get back."
And then on his second hit, as he's going down the line, Kipe yelled it. He's like, "Stay at first." And the wife again, she's like, "Yay, okay, relief. He got another hit." And then she, did the joking, "Stay there, stay there, stay there." She fits right in. That was really funny stuff to watch. She obviously knows what's going on the baseball field. She was,
that was good.
Definitely really into it. That was the best moment. Even though Panic had that walk-off Tuesday, I mean, that had been washed away completely by the weekend against the Diamondbacks. Yeah. So those moments with Yaz and his family, those are those moments I'm talking about that I want to enjoy during the season. That was a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, no. It was good. So he is the grandson of the great Carl Yaztremski of the Red Sox. So yeah, direct relationship to the great one there. So pretty cool. We'll see what he has to offer. I personally don't know too much about him. I haven't really looked up his stats, so I'm not sure.
I looked up a couple things. He's been in the minors. This was his 7th year in the minors. He was originally drafted by the Red Sox, but he ended up going to school at Vanderbilt and got drafted by the Orioles in 2013. So he's been bouncing around the minors in the Orioles system for the past 6 years. And then the Giants traded crap. I wrote it down earlier and I threw that paper out with something else. They traded somebody away for him at the end of spring training, like March 21st, to get Little Yaz into the outfield. And he was, you wrote it here. He was the 10th different left fielder that the Giants have had this season.
Yes, it is. That's not good. So what's really crazy is we'll talk about Mac in a second, but Mac, you know how many hits he had with the Giants in this past stint, I should say?
Oh man, I just looked at how bad it was for him. No, off the top of my head, I don't.
6 hits.
Ouch. There it is.
6 hits total. So his replacement already has half the number of hits he got in his entire duration of 51 at-bats. Now, ironically, he did have 2 of those 6 hits in that first game when he had that home run and 4 RBI, and that was the day after he hit 3 home runs in Sacramento. So everybody was like, "Yep, okay, this is it. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it." And you and I talked about him. We wanted him to succeed, and we said, "Okay, maybe this is a good sign. It is Colorado, so let's pump the brakes, but let's see what happens." But Mac had 2 hits that first game, 1 hit his 4th game, 2 hits his 6th game. So you're still thinking it's not too bad. And, 1 hit his 9th game. But every other game, he had 15 games, over every single game. So he ended up going 6 for 51. That is a 118 batting average, okay? I mean, you might as well have Madison Bumgarner play left field on his off days.
Yeah. I mean, he struck out, he went 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts. Was it? I think it was in that 18-2 debacle, or was it the extra inning game?
No, it was the extra inning game. He had 5 strikeouts and 5 at-bats.
Yeah, and then
one hit by pitch.
Yeah.
Just bad. And the next day, he was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. So, I mean, in those 2 days, he was 0 for 9 with 8 strikeouts right before he was DFA'd. Think about that, folks.
That
I mean,
hurts.
if you're going to go down in flames, you might as well go down like that. I mean,
I agree.
0
I
for
do.
9 with 8 strikeouts. I don't know if Eric and I could actually do worse than that. We probably could get that 9th strikeout. I'm just saying,
You might
maybe.
put the bat on the ball, yes.
Maybe we get one ground out or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dinky little pop-up just over to the first baseman or something.
Yeah. Anyway, I feel bad for the guy. But yeah, Yaz comes up. Obviously, we'll see what happens. He's not going to be the next Carl Yaztremski, but that was bad. So yeah, overall, 1-6 for the week. The Giants statistically have plummeted to 13th in the National League in ERA at 4.62. Just a few weeks ago, Eric, we were talking about how they were number 3 and number 4 in ERA, and that was what was keeping them in games. That was really the driver for this 500 record after that bad start. The pitching really was keeping them in the games, and now, no. It's completely left the building. I don't know what happened. It went schizophrenic and psychotic. It's gone.
April 22nd. Giants ERA last week was 2.75. Now it's 3.22, third in Major League Baseball. April 22nd. That was part of our show. Yeah. That's how bad it went fast. They haven't been able to plug anybody in there that sticks and stays. Nobody is being consistent. Pomerantz has just been a car wreck.
No, he's been. I mean, I didn't have any super high hopes. I didn't think he was going to be like the 2017 version of himself, but I thought, okay, he's going to be serviceable based on some of his track record, because some, in the AL you go, well, designated hitter or whatever, and the NL with the Padres, he had been very, very good. He had 17 wins one year, so you thought, maybe he can recapture some of that, and he's going to be a hit or miss kind of guy, but not so much. And the other thing I wanted to hit on, because we talked about it earlier, is the unearned runs. So this week, of course, they were outscored 55-19. But out of those 55 runs, 15 were unearned. 15! So we're already talking about, and they had many more first inning runs given up this week, of course, just continuing that weird trend. So we already talked about last week and the week before how, on average, every game they're basically down a run after the first inning, on average. So now you got to play the 8-inning game down a run. Statistically, that's going to be hard to do and hard to have a 500 or above record. Now, this past week, you have 7 games in which you gave up 15 unearned runs. So now you're giving up more than 2 runs a game that are unearned on top of that first inning run, which some of them are combined. Point being, on average, you're literally giving 2 runs per game to the opposition, and you're down by at least a run or 2 in the first inning. So with this pathetic, anemic offense and the pitching the way it's been lately, even with the earned runs, it's just a recipe for disaster.
40-19. So take away those 15 runs. They still got outscored 40-19 over the week.
Still get, yeah, exactly.
They still
bad.
allowed
It's
almost
still
6 runs a game. Yeah, that's still almost 6 runs a game instead of the 8 runs a game that they did allow.
Yeah, no, it's not good no matter how you look at it. But they're dead last in the NL in average at 221. They're still 5 points behind the Marlins of all teams, who they play next. They're dead last in runs in the first inning, like I just mentioned. Scored at 0.21. Okay, so they score 1 run in the first inning on average every 5 games. They are allowing the most in Major League Baseball at 1.02 runs per first inning. So there's that 0.8 differential that you're talking about. So on average, the Giants give up a run in the first inning. You just put it up on the board every game.
Yep.
Just go ahead and put a 1 on the board, just on average, just boom. Now some games it may be 3, some games it may be 2, some games it may be 0, but on average it's 1. Just put a 1 up. It's just I've never seen anything like it. The next closest team, I believe, are the Texas Rangers, the Mariners. Anyway, they're at 0.7 something. So I mean, there's no one close to these guys on both ends of the spectrum in the first inning. So the Giants dig themselves a hole right away.
And they used to be making it up, but we're getting into historically bad territory. I started to notice that the Giants, I mean, they're giving up home runs more than ever. It seems like they're striking out. So I started looking up some numbers to compare them to years past. And this year, 2019, they are on pace to average their fewest hits a game ever in a season, strike out the most times in a game ever in a season, have their worst batting average for a full season. I mean, that's including the dead ball era. That's not just San Francisco Giants. And their worst on base percentage compared to any other Giants season. They also would have the 10th fewest runs scored per game at 3.73 than any other season. And for comparison's sake, they only scored 3.72 runs a game last year. In 1985, when they had their worst, it was 3.43. So, it's a what is that, 0.3 of a run per game? Yeah. So that was bad. 85. Games, yeah. Yep. And then they fifth worst OPS in history, behind like 85, 68, which was a pitcher's year. They right now have a 652 OPS. They're just literally the worst offense that they've ever been. And the pitching isn't helping either. Aside from the fact that pitching is averaging 8.75 strikeouts a game, which is the best in their history, which is just a product of the age.
It's a product of the games, the game itself, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about this before the show. The game is just itself is going to more strikeout home run, and so, it's going to cause more strikeouts, and the Giants will get caught in that. But they are allowing the most home runs per game, 1.46, almost a homer and a half per game. So 3 homers over 2 games. That would be their highest average allowed in history. Before then, it was 1.2 a game in 99, 96, and 95. Oh, wow,
so they're not even close. I mean, they're way above. Wow.
Yeah, they are. For comparison's sake, they only allowed 0.96 home run a game last year, so they allowed less than 162 home runs. Uh-huh. And in 2017, it was 1.12, so they were a little over a homer a game, but they're at 1.46, a homer and a half a game.
I didn't know
the Giants are allowing.
I really didn't.
Yeah, I didn't either. That was eye-opening looking at this. And the 4th most earned runs per game in their history if they continue on this pace. Right now it's 4.62. Their worst pitching year was 4.85 runs a game in 1995. Wow. Again, comparison's sake, last year they allowed 3.96 runs a game. So that jumped from 3.96 to 4.62 this year.
So the Giants' offense has never traditionally been, the top 10. We know this. Even their 10, 12, and 14 championship years, their offenses were certainly better than what they've had the last few years, but they never were barn burners. They were never at the top of the league. But their pitching and defense were really their marquee reason why they, and of course Bochy's magic and the way he pulled strings in the playoffs, because he made things happen, especially in 12 with all those elimination game victories. So we know there's been a little bit of minutia and luck and strategy and right timing and right calls, but and the perfect hits, the triple double by Pence, all these things that we can talk about. What's crazy is to think that not only the Giants' offense is bad and the worst it's ever been, which we kind of expected, to be honest. We did not expect the pitching to be this bad. It started off great, very good, and now it has fallen off such a cliff. It has not been a gradual decline. It's just fallen. It's just a 300-foot drop off a cliff, face first into the dirt. I mean, that's literally what they've done. But their defense has always been good, at least, well above average. This year, not so much. And, of course, this past week really proved that point, talking about all those unearned runs. The Giants are now dead last in fielding percentage in the major leagues at a 97.9% fielding percentage. And just this week, when we were talking about those unearned runs, they've now allowed 32 unearned runs all year. But, of course, 15 of them were this week. So almost half of their whole season of unearned runs allowed were just in this past week. So now their defense has taken a jump off the cliff as well. I don't know if everyone's jumping ship or something's in the water or people don't care anymore or it's just literally a bad week, but it's bad all around. And I mean, we're not trying to paint a horrible picture here, people. We're not used to this. Even on this podcast, even the last year or two. But this past week, it really has hit a precipitous drop off, and I know next week is not going to be as bad.
It won't. Wait. It can't be.
I don't want to replay this clip. Knock on wood. There's no way this next week, especially against Baltimore and Miami, can be as bad. It can't, Eric, can it?
It won't. No, it won't. I guarantee you. This is my prediction. The Giants are going to go on this road trip to Miami, Baltimore, and then up to see the Mets, and they're going to knock the crap out of the ball. And we're going to be like, where was this team? And it's just going to reaffirm my belief that Oracle Park is screwing with the heads of the Giants. And I mean, I know that doesn't account for the 50 billion runs they gave up, but they didn't hit the ball either. I mean, they scored, what did we say? It was 19 runs, 8, 11,
in
19
7
runs
games.
over 7 games, right?
So it's
That's
less than 3 a game. That's
game.
less than their
Right.
season average, right? So,
Right. So as much as we talk about all these runs they gave up, offense is obviously a problem because they're not hitting the ball. And I'll bet you they start scoring 5, 6, 7 runs a game during this stretch when they're on the road and start hitting the ball again. This team seems to band together when they go on the road because there's not as much pressure anymore. Giants fans, aren't upset at them. They're not hearing boos like they finally did on Sunday when they threw the ball around the infield.
Yeah.
Deserved boos for throwing the ball around the field like they did. I had no problem with that. It's an ugly on-field product, and I never in all my years of watching Giants baseball, I do not remember watching anything like this. I do not remember a week like this. And since I started watching every game fully since 2012, this has to be the worst stretch of Giants baseball that I've ever seen.
I agree. I didn't see much of it, but
There's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't.
It's got to be one of the worst, stretches of Giants baseball that I've been around. Since I've been a fan from the mid to late 70s. So, and there's been some really bad teams. Okay, so I should obviously 85 was 100 losses. So maybe, but I wasn't. I was 11-12 that year. So obviously I don't recall too much. But you just brought up the statistics versus their 130 years of Giants baseball, and it's pretty much the worst it's ever been. So we know where they're at right now, and the question is, I didn't write this down, but look, this is Bochy's swan song, and everybody was hoping they would hit that magical 75 or whatever 76 wins they need to get them to 2,000 wins. I certainly don't think after this past week that's going to happen, because I think this is going to be an occasional blip on the radar, a horrible week like this, and they're just it's going to be hard to recover from this, and it's really going to hurt the psyche of the team, the revolving door. What happened with Larry Baer, what's going on with the new GM, and I know this is all a process of getting the Giants good again. So all these people that are screaming for Zaidi's head, and I think we discussed this last week. It's way premature, and fire Bochy. I think they're trolls, whatever. Look, guys, I mean, what else is the answer? Their current roster is crap. It just is. And so they're trying what they can. And the transaction process takes time. Okay. You can't just bring up guys from single, double, and AAA. It's not how it works. The Giants have one of the worst farm systems in the league. So they don't have anything to draw from. They don't have a full well. They don't have a reserve system to bring up these guys like the Houston Astros did, which has now built a mighty team that's now won a World Series and is, continual contenders, or the Dodgers, which Zaidi was a part of building. Yeah. And no, he's not an inside agent, people trying to destroy the Giants. That's not what's happening.
I mean, you talk about the transactions. We said, 10 left fielders that they've had this year?
10 left fielders now.
It's just going to come with it. It's going to... I mean, some of these teams you talk about, it took them a couple years to get it going. So it's going to be trading season here soon. And I mentioned this to Chad. I'm going to write an article at the end of the week identifying, everybody does it, but identifying who I think is a possibility to be traded, on the Giants, and maybe what they can get back for certain guys, and look into that a little bit, because the trading deadline, They need to start pulling the trigger. They need to start making trades. I don't think they should be shy about it. I think they should be shopping people and see who they can get.
I think there's no question about it at this point. I mean, the franchise has hit an all-time low, and it could go lower the rest of this year and into 2020. It really could. I'm not trying to paint a bleak picture, but 2020 is not going to get much better. It just isn't, because most likely they will have traded Bum, maybe another person like Belt, and then who knows after that. So the point is that it's trying to restock your farm system. So those farm players are not going to be ready in 2020. Joey Bart's not necessarily going to be ready in 2020. So this is a multi-year process, and so we may not be at the bottom of the valley. We still may be descending. And
God, I hope we are, man. I hope this week was the worst of it this season.
I don't think it's going to get worse than this week as far as a week-to-week basis, but as a year-to-year basis, I do think that it's possible this year is going to be worse than last year. Hopefully not worse than 2017. And, 2020 is going to be just as bad. And then hopefully 2021, not later, maybe 2022, things start going back up. But that's the problem, is that as fans, we have to be patient. This is not an overnight fix. You just can't do it. We didn't get Bryce Harper, and as it turns out, statistically, maybe he wouldn't have helped too much this year with his on-base percentage and
I mean, I don't think he would have helped this year. That was a long-term investment, but I think the Giants probably feel I think they feel good about the fact that didn't end up going through.
Well, no, because now they have the cash, not necessarily for next year, because there's not necessarily a big-time free agent on the market next year, but at least they have the cash reserves. If they, especially if they execute these trades and guys like Crawford and Posey come off the books after 2020, they're going to have some serious cash to draw some guys in. And then on top of that, they're talking about bringing in the fences for next year or the year after. And if that happens, and moving the pens, whatever, that's a safety thing. But I think it will attract some guys, and I know there's still the California tax problem or whatever. That's an issue that only millionaires have to worry about, I'd say. But I do think this is going to be a 2 to 3 year process until we see the Giants at 500 or better. That's my honest opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Which is you take the good, you take the bad. Things are just amplified today because we have more media, us included as a podcast. We have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have the constant stream of information and feedback. Whereas when they went through things like this in the 80s, people just read about it in the paper, saw it on the evening news, and that was the extent of it that they had in their lives. Whatever, right. Yeah, it's just a little different now. Everybody's hyper aware of everything. Every transaction the Giants make, everybody knows within a half hour to an hour of it happening if they're like plugged into social media networks. And back in the day, you might have read in the paper the next day, oh, look at that, the Giants called up this guy, and you might not have even realized he was in the game the night before.
Oh, that's what I did all the time. I remember my summer internship at my dad's microprocessor manufacturing plant, whatever, in Sunnyvale. In the early 90s, I used to go in, and in my lunch break, I'd pick up the paper like at noon and then read the box score from the night before if I didn't listen to the game, and then read about transactions and summaries and all that stuff like that. It's a completely different world, because now even if you don't watch the game like I didn't this past weekend because I was so busy, I have a phone that's connected to the internet with an MLB at bat app, and I just launch it up and I go, what the F?
And you can play videos of the good plays. Like Duggar made that fantastic diving play on Friday night where he kept his balance as he rolled right through it. It was beautiful to watch. I love watching Duggar out there in center field.
No, he's been great. Pilar's been great defensively too. So I have no complaints about those guys' defense. Just overall as a team, definitely been lacking. So we said, of course, 10 different left fielders since or for the year. Now, just to give you some context. Every other year has been just as much or fewer, except for 2017, 2 years ago. Of course, when they lost 97 games, they had 14 left fielders. The problem is, ladies and gentlemen, we're not even halfway through the season. So, with Zaidi at the helm, I think it's very, very likely they're going to have more than 14 this year.
Probably. I mean, they've used 42 players on their roster already, I believe, too.
That's crazy. 17 extra, 17 over the 25. I mean, that's just we're gonna get to 50, baby. We're doubling it.
It's really crazy that it's been that much of a turnover. We expected it, but we didn't expect it completely like this. But when the cupboard's bare, what can you do? You try to stock it with what you can.
All right, so we'll talk about transactions. We've mentioned all of these guys pretty much throughout the show, but Mac Williamson, after his 51 at-bats, hitting 118. He was DFA'd for the second time in 2 months by the team, which has got to just be a gut punch to the soul. But Bochy talked about how it was really hard 2 months ago, but it was even harder this time because Bochy has been with this guy since 2015, the last 4 or 5 years. And he said he truly is a giant. He is a giant through and through. He was drafted by the team. He has been with the team his whole career. He has worked himself back into the major leagues through incredible performances in AAA. And Bochy basically just said, we just need help. We need help. And he's not providing it. So it's a tough business decision, but it has to be made. And You and I talked about letting him steep a little bit, letting him marinate and just see what he could do. But I don't think you and I expected this poor of a performance before he came in this year. He had a career major league average of 226, I believe. It was in the 220s, regardless. Obviously a low average, but you jack it up 40, 50 points and it's acceptable. Yeah. He didn't jack it up 40, 50 points, ladies and gentlemen. He was down to 118. I mean, he was 100 points below. He had half as many hits. It's just the Giants, if he was still hitting 220 at this point, I guarantee you he's still on the roster.
Absolutely. I thought that this tryout, I thought this was going to last a few weeks. And then I said it on last week's show, though, the way it'd been going, I thought that this homestand was his last shot. And I didn't expect him to not make it to the end of the homestand. I thought if there was a transaction involving Mac, today would have been the day it happened. Yeah. But to see them pull the trigger like that, I also, when we talk about the grand scheme of things, I also appreciate, though, a front office willing to pull the trigger like that. Because when you need help, get the help. Don't just keep sending the guy out there that's floundering. And Mac was a great guy, stand-up guy. He is a Giant all the way. But, again, like we talked about in the season preview show, maybe Mac needs some new scenery, some new surroundings so he can get himself right and in a different baseball mindset. I mean, He's not Hunter Pence, but look at what a new home has done for Hunter Pence. And so I think it's possible that somebody like Mac, he'll get his one more shot somewhere, and I hope he does well with it.
Oops. Hold on a second. We rarely get calls on our home phone, and I forget to mute it. The thing about Mac is that, he cleared waivers last time, and he elected to be reassigned to AAA. This time, if he clears waivers, and that's a big if, although if he cleared last time, I don't see him necessarily clearing or not clearing this time. The problem is that he can elect free agency, and I can't put myself in the brain of a 26, 27-year-old, career minor leaguer who has a lot of power and a lot of promise on paper. I do see him electing free agency this time. I do. That's my gut feeling. I don't think he's going to be – he realizes Zaidi has now seen him, and he pulled the trigger after his, really poor performance. If he comes back up and hits 50 home runs in AAA, it doesn't matter. He may or may not be called up, and if he is, he might just, have that short tryout and be DFA'd again. I think he needs a new place to go.
Yeah, he might not even get at bats because the Giants don't want to look at him anymore. The Giants have seen what they can see. So it's a mutual parting of ways at this point. And he had a shot. Good luck to Mac. I'm sorry it didn't work out. It's what can you do? Some guys just never get it together. He is the definition of the quad A player that we've talked about.
We called him a quad A player for the last 2-3 years, and he just is fitting that more and more. Talking about Hunter Pence, he hit his 11th home run the other day. He's batting .309 in 123 at bats. He's got 35 RBI. Guy's amazing. He's just he changed his swing and he changed his scenery, and he's just wow.
I'm not going to lie. I was mad at myself that I didn't grab my tablet before we started recording so I could watch the Rangers game while we were recording. Because we put those games on all the time in this house. I love watching Hunter.
Yeah, his WAR is 1.2, which is higher than any Giant, by the way.
Wow. That's funny.
So, there's that. Now, everyone who said, we should have kept Hunter Pence. It's look, okay, first of all, he would not have these stats because, again, being in the same situation, being at Oracle Park, having the whatever's going on this year, there's no way he has 11 home runs. He's hitting .309.
Yeah,
that said, I do think, because last year he hit 4 home runs for the entire year, I do think that he would have been, if you believe his swing, everything else is, the same, basically. He changed his swing. Nothing else has changed beyond that. Yeah, I do think he would have been better than last year, but I don't think we would have been like, I'm so glad we signed him this year because he's hitting 250.
He would have been better than the left fielders that the Giants have been trotting out there. But then again, the Giants are looking for the future, and they already knew what they had.
He's 36 years old, and that's a really good point you bring up, Eric, because the Giants aren't going to be good for the next 2 to 3 years. So he's 36 right now. He's going to be 37, 38. I mean, no, he's not helping the Giants in the near future. So it's fine to cut ties with him because they would have had to sign him to, something, not a minimum contract, but it would have impacted their salary. They're looking at new guys. So it's totally understandable. And everybody thinking that Hunter Pence would have made any difference in the standings this year. Okay, you know what? Give the Giants, he has a WAR of 1.2. So give the Giants 2 extra wins this year. Just give them a little extra over 1.2. What does that make them? Oh, still in last place. There you go. Just saying.
All right, so Trevor Gott was put on the injured list as well. D-Rod got called back up. So on Saturday, the son of a Hall of Famer, Derek Rodriguez, and the grandson of a Hall of Famer, Mike Yaztremski, got called up to the big leagues at the same time. Granted, D-Rod's been there before, but just on the transaction page, it looks neat. And then Suarez, who pitched Saturday, was sent down Sunday so they could get Sam Coonrod up. I love that name, Coonrod. It's a very, very good redneck name.
What?
Yeah, well, what's for dinner, Paul? Oh, I caught some raccoons around our trash, so now they're turning on the Coonrod back there. Just totally.
So we got D-Rod and Coonrod.
Yeah, and he pitched a 1-2-3 inning with his first career strikeout on Sunday. That was good to see. So
he has actually some good-looking stuff. So we'll see how that pans out.
Him and Yaz had good days yesterday. They were the highlight of the whole weekend. Him and Yaz on Sunday.
So we always talk about who's hot and who's not. Really hard to find out who's hot, but went ahead and did that just in case any of these players are listening, or their wives or children or sixth cousins, which I know they're not. But Kevin Pillar, who has a very low average, did go 8 for 24. That's a 333 clip for the week. He's the only regular that hit over 250. That's why he's there. As far as your part-time players, because they have many fewer at-bats, Panda went 4 for 11. And Stephen Vogt went 4 for 12. That's another 333 clip. So, yeah, they're pitching-wise, I couldn't say anything. Jeff Samardzija had 6 innings of no earned runs, but he gave up 6 unearned runs, and he contributed to that. So I didn't put him in there. And then who's not? Yeah. The list is way too long. We're not doing this. It's everybody.
The whole team.
It's the whole team. It wasn't just the pitching. It wasn't just the defense, and it wasn't just the offense. It was all three. It was the holy trinity of suck this week. So, what are you gonna do?
There's no need to harm. Yeah, we've already talked about how bad the week was. We don't need to point out individual statistics as well. Everybody had something go wrong this week.
All right, you got a minor league report here?
Helio Ramos had gone on the disabled list with a knee thing a few weeks back. He came off for San Jose tonight, and he's already got a single. He's 1 for 2 so far with a single and a strikeout. So Helio Ramos, the prized outfield prospect for the Giants, is back on the field for now. Bart is still out, but Ramos is back out there playing ball.
Yeah, Bart is out. What is he, like 2 weeks out? 3 weeks out?
Yeah, I think he's got about 2 more weeks, yeah.
Yeah. I think so. So, I mean, that was kind of upsetting, but at the same time, it's like, is it really going to delay? It might delay his major league debut if it might have been this year if he was healthy, but in the long run, it doesn't really matter. And in fact, for the Giants, it's probably better because they want to start that clock later. So,
and there's nobody else to report on because everybody else is with the big league club.
Yeah. So, this week in Giants history, by the way, we talked about this last week. Eric did post about it, and it was Angel Pagan's inside the park home run to win the game. There was a walk-off, which we played, a clip of that last week. It just blew up this week, didn't it, Eric?
Yeah, everybody related to it. I think that the confluence of events of a holiday weekend, and so not everybody doing much, just kind of hanging around the house, and the fact that the Giants were so bad this weekend, we all missed those good old days. And then even though 2013 turned to crap after Pagan had that mad dash, everybody wanted to relive it, and I think it was fun. Yeah, everywhere. And so I appreciate everybody who clicked on it and read through it because that was a fun this week in Giants history. I'll never forget where I was for that Angel Pagan game, and it seemed like a whole lot of people felt the same way.
Yeah, that was one of those touchstone moments, like you said. Even though some people were like, well, after that they finished last place that year or whatever. Yeah, and it was like
they did.
That wasn't the point. The point was the moment in Giants history. Like, it wasn't this is what propelled them to a championship. This is what was fun. So anyway, yeah.
I mean, it's got to be one of the greatest regular season moments in that park's history in the 20 years of that park. That has to be in the top 5 for regular season moments. There's not much else that tops that. I mean, the electricity and everything that came with it. The picture that was at the top was fantastic with Pagan. AP got a great photo that day, and then like Flannery dancing
Flannery
down.
coming down. He almost outran Pagan. I mean, he was like. That was so much fun, and I know that Flan remembers that day. By the way, Flan, I know he just left Twitter, probably because all the toxic stuff he gets for his political stuff, but he does follow us, and he's interacted with us several times. He's a really cool guy, and just to see his kind of perspective on life outside of baseball definitely gives context to, hey, look, a guy who won 3 rings as a base coach for the Giants is like, whatever, Maybe we should like all calm down about this. It's just baseball. It's just baseball. Okay?
And he's letting it happen. Like he's just letting the process happen. He knows where the position Bochy's in at this point.
Yeah, he knows.
And who knows if he'll care that much after Bochy leaves? I have no idea. But for this week in Giants history, I'm going to talk about a game in 1964 where the Giants played at New York at Shea Stadium. And them and the Mets played a 23-inning game, and it was game 2 of a doubleheader. And I actually grew up hearing about this game from my father. He was there and told me about how they ran out of food, and the vendors were starting to go to the nearby stores and pick up food, so people were getting sandwiches and stuff like that in the 18th and 19th inning because the game just kept going on and on and on.
Beer,
so,
unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that was cut off way, way, way before that. And it's funny because me growing up in Chicago, that's how I got to see the Giants when they came to Wrigley. My dad was still living in New York at that time, so the way he saw the Giants was when they came to see the Mets. So there's no way he was leaving that game. So I'm going to look back on that and probably throw a little nod in there to the anniversary of Willie Mays' first home run off of Warren Spahn. That was also, I believe, on like the 28th or the 29th this week.
Nice. All right, well, coming up for the Giants, they have 3 in Miami. Today was an off day, which is unusual for Memorial Day, by the way. But the Giants did have an off day, so they have 3 in Miami. And then, is it 2 or 3 in Baltimore? I think it's just 2.
No, it's 3 in Baltimore. It's Friday,
it?
Saturday, Sunday. Yeah.
Okay, so it's 3 in Baltimore. So they do have 6 games this week. Yeah, so can they go 4-2? I mean,
I'm telling you, they will. They're going to have a good week. They're going to start beating up on these other teams.
I hope so. I mean, let's put it this way, folks. If we record next Monday and we come back with a 1-5 week, things are going to get pretty ugly around here. So, just saying.
Yeah.
I
may have to take up drinking again, even if we record during the day.
We may actually hear from the president himself.
Then there's something wrong with you. You're certainly not very good.
Yeah. So, anyway. You can follow us collectively at TortureCast. You can like us on Facebook at TortureCast, and of course read all of our blogs. Of course, Eric's been writing these amazing This Week in History or in Giants History on the website, and of course we post all of our podcasts there at torturecast.com. You can follow us individually on Twitter at 2outhits. That's with the number 2 for Eric, and myself at ChadK21. So, Eric, I know you've been out relaxing, gambling, getting some money, having some good old time. What else you have? The pimp? You have anything to sell? Anything to talk about?
No, like I said, I'm going to look at the trade candidates by the end of the week. I'm all refreshed and renewed. So let's get people over to TortureCast and see our thoughts on this Giants season. Because even though it's a bad one, it doesn't mean that we can't enjoy certain things and at least be a part of it.
I'm just sore as F, and I've got splinters under my fingernails, which feels like the Giants season kind of creeping in there. It's just been like, but that's okay. Look, we're still recording, folks. This is the most we've ever recorded the last few years. I mean, we are keeping on this weekly schedule. We are committed. We still love this team no matter what.
Well, yeah, because we're going to be there when they get good again. And we don't want to look back and kick
Don't be
ourselves
fair weather
and be
fans.
embarrassed. Right, because we're not fair weather fans. We both tune in the games as much as possible, and there's plenty of other diehard Giants fans out there. Not everybody just jumped on the bandwagon in 2010. And if you did jump on the bandwagon in 2010 and are sticking with this team, good for you. I'm glad that the Giants have fans like that, but because it is much different on social media than it was 3-4 years ago.
Oh, it's so much different. I mean, it was all roses and sunshine, and now it's just, Armageddon. So everybody chill the F out. It's okay. It's not real life. This is a process. It's going to take some time. The Giants cannot be good for 10 straight years. They just can't. I mean, I know some of these Bay Area fans, myself, I'm a huge Warriors fan. They've been incredible for 5 straight years, not 3 out of 5, 5 straight. So we'll see what they do against Toronto. By the way, congratulations to both teams to making the finals. But
you got to pick. Do you think the Warriors are gonna? What do you think is gonna happen in this series?
That's a good question. So going into the Portland series, I thought that they were going to dominate Portland even without KD. But the fact that they swept was really surprising to me. And granted, the last game was OT, but still, the point is they swept. And so Houston was really the big challenge, and they got over that with KD for most of the time. So what's funny is that the Warriors, classically in their 73 win campaign, in a couple of their championships, or I should say just one actually, because KD's been a part of 2 already, is the fact that they pass the ball more with KD out, right? More 3-point shooting, more passing. When KD's in, it's more ISO because they feed it to the big man, and it's not every game. Obviously, there's some games he doesn't get as many touches because sometimes he defers. But there's so many games in which he just ISOs and does his back step jumper, right? And when he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's off. And it just seems to me like Clay and Steph seem to be a little bit shy in those games because they're like, he's the man. Let's just feed it to him, right? Same with Draymond. He's always complaining about the refs and not playing the best defense he's ever had. KD leaves after his injury. And freaking Steph and Clay and Draymond play like they're 5 years younger. Like it just blew up. I mean, look what Steph did. He averaged 36.5 because he went 37-36, 37-36 against Portland, right? I mean, this is classic Steph.
Oh, he had that crazy second half after he had no points in the first half in that series. Oh, that was Houston to close it out. That was phenomenal.
that was Houston when he closed it out. But I mean, these guys are playing out of their gourd, and this is after Boogie went down too. I mean, these are 2 huge guys who propelled them in the regular season. By the way, not to the best. Yes, the best record in the West, but not the best record in NBA. In fact, they're number 3. So that's why they're the visitors to Toronto, because both Toronto and Milwaukee had better records than them. So
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
wow.
So they open on Thursday in Toronto. They would have opened in Milwaukee too, so it didn't matter. And personally, I feared Milwaukee more than Toronto. I am shocked that Toronto won that series. Milwaukee won the first 2 games, and I'm not saying that Toronto didn't have a chance, but Toronto won 4 in a row, right? They won the first those 2 at home, then they stole one in Milwaukee, and then they won back in Toronto. So, they basically swept the Bucks, and the Bucks basically, by the way, the Bucks had not lost more than 2 in a row all year.
Yeah, it was like the Reds in 2012 against the Giants.
Yeah, exactly. So, definitely, I think it's not going to be a sweep or anything either way. But at the same time, if the Warriors, I think they'll definitely take a split in Toronto. Excuse me, as I sneeze. Cut that out. But I think if they split in Toronto and then take 2 at home, they're up 3-1, and then who knows what happens from there. So I think Warriors in 6. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Dubs in 5 or 6. I don't think that Kawhi can carry the entire team against Golden State, and I truly believe Golden State is this era's dynasty. I don't see a team like the Raptors upsetting them, but hey, things happen. Dallas once beat Miami in a NBA Finals, so
it's true.
It's possible. But I really, the Dubs are too good. KD's gonna be back, right?
Well, it's not confirmed yet, but I would suspect so, and even Boogie might be back. So that'll be interesting, though. That's the whole thing of they've been playing so well without those 2 guys. They're basically 5-0 without him. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So it's kind of like, okay, 5-0 and a half a game, by the way, which they were down. So it's almost like 5.5-0. Point being, I would rather have KD and Boogie than not. But I am curious to see what the 9-day layoff and those two new guys who they haven't played with for the last series and a half or two, will play together. And we've seen this with the Warriors in the regular season where they just lay an egg and lose against Phoenix, the worst team in the league at home, right? It happens. They have these.
I can see them losing game one and then, kind of.
I can see them losing game one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think with the 9-day layoff, and Toronto's going to be super hyped because, this is their first finals, and Toronto's like with Jurassic Park and the whole thing. They're just like.
That's fun. That's fun stuff too. It's a shame your team's playing them because it's fun stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, everybody, I do see some people going, I think this is Toronto's year. Golden State's all washed up. And it's like,
nope.
Okay, let's just look at this. There's 4 series per year, right? So you have the first 4 years, and that's 16 series. Then you add these 3 series, that's 19 series. How many series have they lost?
1.
Exactly. They're 18-1 in all of those series. And that one series they had, they could have easily won if just one of those guys made the shot. Or if, that block wasn't made on Iggy with, LeBron chasing him. Point being, no one shot, by the way, at the end of that game in Game 7. Everybody was missing. Yeah. It just took Kyrie's last minute, 3 or whatever. Anyway, point being is that they're 18-1 in the last 19 series in the playoffs. So for people to go, wow, Toronto has this, it's like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Well, they were 2-0 against the Warriors this year. It's like, yeah, Houston was 4-2 against the Warriors this year and beat them the previous year. And this team had a winning record, and this team had a winning record. And that's the regular season. Everybody knows that the Warriors are a completely different team in the playoffs. Completely different.
You want to be the king, you got to beat the king.
So anyway, for all you Giants fans who don't give a crap about the Warriors, sorry about that.
Yeah, they could have turned off 10 minutes ago. Sorry.
Yeah. All right, so that's going to do it for episode 167. We'll see you next week at some point, probably Monday, for episode 168, and we'll see you then. Boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at TortureCast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.